Hi guys, welcome to the Poleshift News. Just here on poleshiftnews.com, having a look at the live solar data that we collect from some of these, well-known organisations. I have, by the way, pulled the SD cards out of our magnetosphere sensor and our Trimag sensor, and the reason for doing that is to just make sure that we're still running with no problems. Since the last episode where we had a couple of problems, I've been a little bit paranoid as to whether it's recording or not, and the only way to find out is to take the SD cards out. What I haven't done is formatted them, so I took them out for a few minutes, took the data off them, and then put them back into the Trimag and the magnetosphere sensor, so that we can just compile the data on top of that we collect from this point on, and it'll add it to the file in each unit, so we don't lose any data. I mean, I like to look at the data over a month if I can, and we're still about 2 weeks away from doing that. But at least we can have a look at the data that it's collected over the last 2 weeks, and we can have a little, natter about that later on in this video. But we're just looking at the geomagnetic field. As you can see, it's quiet, solar X-rays are normal, and still no sunspots on the solar disk. But, again guys, we have to take into consideration where we are on the solar cycle 24, and that is at the end. It has come earlier than what was predicted on this chart that we're looking at. We're in 2018, it's around about where the cursor is at the moment, and it's on the minimum line. And it has been a short solar cycle, considering, where we are right now. But the thing is, we are seeing this more often now, and I've also noticed that the magnetic activity as well that you can see on these two filters is very, very low, and I'm just wondering if that is part and parcel of the deal of a grand solar minimum. So let's have a look at the data that we've collected. Before we do, I just want to thank those few people that have supported the research observatory, the website and the YouTube channel over the last couple of weeks. Big thanks to you guys, and if I can, just encourage a few other people out there, to help push the cart a little bit. We don't raise great deals of money, even though there are 13,000 subscribers, but what we do raise, as you guys know, goes a long way. We're looking at the magnetosphere data on the top chart, and the one below that is the Trimag data. And both these data sets come from the observatory that we've managed to put together over the last couple of years. More recently, the magnetosphere data has been added to the observatory. You can see that on the magnetosphere data, it's shifted over the course of a couple of weeks, say, around 1 microtesla or 1,000 nanoteslas. And the interesting thing is, you don't really see this on the mainstream organisations' magnetometers. And not only are we able to see this, but we can then archive this from now to the next how many years from now, and we can go back in history to see, just how much is depleting over what period of time. Again, with the Trimag data on the lower chart on this, data set that we're looking at, we can see that it's just above 10 degrees, 10 degrees. And the reason why we calibrated it at 10, for those that don't know, is that so we can fit it all on the chart. If we had it going from a range of 0 to 360 degrees, what would happen is, as it went a little bit east, it would go into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it went westerly, it would go to 365. It would be impossible to graph it, so that's why we set it at 10 degrees. 10 degrees really is a real representation of 0 degrees, which would be magnetic north. On our Trimags, they already take into consideration the declination, and we just record from 3 different magnetometers the data which is collected, which is in just general common terms, what it is the heading of the magnetic north pole. And I've got to say this, guys, over the last couple of weeks, I've not seen data set like this before since we've been doing the recording on the TriMag, because it's just been continuously the same, and I'll show you right now what I mean by that. So this is the raw data. I mean, I removed the date and the time from these, but this has gone over the last couple of weeks. You can just see part of the chart there, which has been taken from all the magnetometer 1 readings. We omit 2 and 3 because we always look at the one magnetometer. We could look at 2 and 3, it just saves time, because they're all pretty much giving us the same results. The other 2 just back up the number 1, which is the one we're looking at, and the reason why we selected number 1 is because this one was more successful at sending packets to the master wirelessly. So we've from day one always taken the readings from magnetometer 1, but we can look at any time magnetometer 2 and 3. We've got a problem still on track 3, which I anticipate is just a faulty transmitter. It's a transceiver, but for just simplicity, call it a transmitter. It's just probably needs replacing, that's all it needs. But you can see, look at the data as I scroll down, 80,000 separate entries of data, and you can see it doesn't change from 10.65 degrees. Whereas before it used to fluctuate between various numbers below that. So we are getting close now for this just to flip into the 11 degrees. And when it does, we will have, witnessed a 1 degree shift over nearly a year's observation. So, with regards to the TriMag, it is doing its job, very well. I mean, I don't think anybody else out there is tracking the magnetic North Pole heading at the moment, and if they are, I don't think they're tracking it at the same resolution we are, which is 1 data set every 3 seconds. Which is quite, if anything happens, over a period of even an hour, we're going to have a large data range to see what exactly was going on in that period of time. So the good news is both the magnetosphere sensor is collecting data successfully and reliably, and the TriMag is doing the same. Although we have got that bad track on 3, we're still collecting magnetometer data from 1 and 2 magnetometers. I will be over the next few weeks replacing that transceiver on Mag 3, and that track will be up and running again. It's just nice to have the extra 2 backups, as opposed to we've been left with just 2 magnetometers at the moment and an intermittent 3rd. So yeah, pretty much we're looking with the TriMag data a straight bar. There's been no change, and that's been the first time we've ever recorded such a data set. With the magnetosphere, you can see it does bump around a lot, and interestingly, we're looking at this. What we're looking at is something that's produced on the inside of the Earth. It's generated by the magneto. We get 2 different readings. The magnetosphere does wander up and down over a microtesla or 1,000 nanoteslas, and the heading of the magnetic North Pole has remained stationary at least over the last 2 weeks. So even though the field strength moves slightly up and down, it hasn't been enough to actually shunt the actual dipole over the northern hemisphere in any direction. If it had of, we'd have had recordings of it. So guys, we're still waiting for a few parts on the cloud generator, but I'll be putting a video together. I've been doing a bit more installation on that to try and keep the upper peltier as cool as possible. And with the experiment I mentioned the other day, where we're going to monitor just take a reading of how much oxygen is actually in the atmosphere, we'll be doing that from Wednesday onwards. I'm waiting for, believe it or not, some steel wool, which what we use that for in the experiment is we're going to soak that into some household vinegar, something that you've got in your cupboards at home, and we put it in a graduated test tube, and the reason why we add the vinegar to the steel wool is because it creates an oxidation. So any oxygen in the test tube will be consumed by the process of that steel wool rusting or oxidizing. And we have a sample of 100 milliliters of atmospheric air, and within that 100 milliliters there can only be a certain amount of oxygen, and that will be taken up in the process of oxidation with the steel wool. And that's how you avoid paying many thousands of pounds for a gas analyzer, and you do it on the low budget scale. But it does nevertheless give us a good reading of how much atmospheric oxygen is in the atmosphere. And the reason why we want to measure that is because, you know what, why not? 7 billion people are breathing oxygen. All the animals that are on the land and some that are in the sea breathe oxygen as well. And then adding to that all the machinery we've got, such as cars, trains, aircraft, across all the range, all consume oxygen at an alarming rate. So, with us all, being here on this planet, using the equipment that we are, it's just interesting to know on how the reservoir of oxygen in our atmosphere is coping with the demands that we place on it every day. So, tune in for that. And I think that's where we'll end the video here, guys. Enjoy the rest of the week. Other than it being very wet and rainy and floody in the UK at the moment, and I dare say it is for most of Europe is the same, we are looking probably at a low crop season in this country, and the result of that will be more costs and less production. And it's going to have a knock-on effect with me and you at the end of the day. And I think I'll leave it there. Just some thoughts for you to think of. I will leave you with this one last thought. It's just coming to my mind. It was something I'd given a bit of time to the other day. This Earth is going through its magnetic reversal, and it has been doing so for the last 100 years. But if ever there was an intelligent race that was perhaps historians, and they wanted to know, or there was like planetary scientists of their race, they would definitely be observing this country. This planet right now, especially at this time. And I would expect more UFO sightings to be more common and frequent now than ever, for that reason alone. Because I think that they would be interested to know and study and record what actually takes place, what actually takes place during a magnetic reversal on the planetary scale with intelligent life forms on it, and how they respond to, the changes of a depleting magnetosphere on a planet and a migrating pole. So, just a thought I had. Thought I'd share it with you guys. And with that, I'll leave it with you. If you're interested, you want to add a comment to that, then do so in the comment section. But other than that, guys, the magnetometer is up and running successfully again, and so is the magnetosphere. We're collecting data again. We are an observatory once again, and there is a link down there if you want to support the channel. All the best for the week, and bye for now.